So far in 2026, I have read 8 books. I'm currently on my 9th. I've read some sci-fi, some epic fantasy, a lit RPG. I actually have a historical fiction in there and a horror book. So I've spread myself across all the genres really so far in 2026. And today I'm just going to briefly walk you through all of them and let you know which ones I think are worth your time. So I normally try and read across a few genres every year. I mainly read fantasy, epic fantasy, a bit of sci-fi, and I also like my mystery thrillers, you know? What else do I like? Oh yeah, and I throw in the odd classic. In 2026, I have been reading brilliant books so far. It's just the way it goes sometimes. I actually set myself a page goal this year instead of a book goal. Last year I read 58 books, which was a huge goal for me, and I'm so glad that I got the 52. I wanted to read a book a week for a whole year. But that kind of meant that I sacrificed some of the bigger books on my shelf just so that I could get through some other books. So this year I'm going for a page goal, and I'm pretty much just trying to read exactly what I want to read, all the books that I shoved from last year into this year. So yeah, I'm going to take you through them. So let's start off the year with Project Hail Mary. I did my first ever immersive for Project Hail Mary, and I didn't even really know what an immersive was. My followers on TikTok let me know that for Project Hail Mary, the audiobook is phenomenal. So I thought, well, maybe I should do the audiobook. But then I thought, I actually have the physical book, so I'm just going to pair them together and read it. Turns out that's an immersive. So that was my first book for the year, and I feel like I started the year off very strong because that was a 5-star read. I loved Project Hail Mary. I love sci-fi. I'm a big fan of like Interstellar and obviously The Martian as well. So all those sort of sci-fis that aren't too like strongly in the fantasy realm. I mean, the Project Hail Mary does have that element of extraterrestrial life in there, but like, I believe there's life out there. So I thought that was brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to the movie this year. I then went on to The Will of the Many, which I got for Christmas. I also have The Strength of the Few up here. You can probably see it in the background. I haven't started that one yet, but I went on to The Will of the Many, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. I actually gave this a 4.25 stars, which is pretty high in my rating. I go by 0.25s. I did really enjoy this book, but I felt like there was a lot in here that I didn't really understand, and I felt a little bit like James Islington, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I allowed him to take me on the journey throughout the book, and it was a very good journey, but I also felt like there were just a lot of things that I didn't understand. For instance, the will, like the main power in the book, the will that they use. I have no idea how they do that. Yeah, really enjoyed The Will of the Many, but it didn't get quite as high on the star scale for me because I just felt a little bit in the dark about the magic system and the powers that they use pretty much the entire time. But outside of that, I loved it. Thought it was a really good book. Saving the second one for a little bit later in the year. I've heard the third one's actually coming out this year. So while I was reading Project Hail Mary and The Will of the Many, because they were both physical books, I also had on the go The Gate of the Feral Gods by Matt Dinnerman, which is the 4th in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I read that at the same time because I have that on Kindle, and I like to be able to read a bit later than when my wife goes to sleep, so Kindle is the perfect thing for that. So sort of across January, I just had that one ticking along in the background, and I thought that was really good. I also gave that a 4.25. Out of the ones that I've read so far, which is just the 4, I actually thought that the third book was my favourite. I'm not like a train geek, but I do really like trains. So I like that whole concept of the... You alright? Oh. Sorry, just had to check on the cat. I heard some weird noises coming out. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. Out of the 4 Dungeon Crawler Carl books that I've read already, the third was my favourite. I'm expecting the 5th to take over it because I've heard so many good reviews about the 5th book. But yeah, I really liked the whole concept of the trains, the train tracks, that whole thing. I really enjoyed that. So that's currently my favourite, but the 4th was very good. So that was January. Come on. You need to either come up or not because I'm trying to film a video. You got to make your mind up. Come on, I'm getting you. Yes, you're cute. You want to be a star. You want to be a movie star. You want to be a YouTube star. Well, too bad, because I'm not either. There's my water. So that was January. And actually on January 30th, my wife and I went up to the city. We flew to Sydney the next day, and then the day after that, we got on a cruise and went to New Zealand. So my reading actually slowed down a little bit. She actually has a great video recapping the trip. But while I was on the cruise, oh, we might see her hop up in her box. Is her box, by the way. That's where she snoozes. So while I was away, I read a book by an Australian author, I believe lives in Queensland, called Dragon Rising, which I really liked. And that one was sort of out of my wheelhouse, you know. That was like a military themed thriller. Bit of a tongue twister that. I'm getting so many cat hairs in my water. That was a military themed thriller and sort of like an invasion themed thriller. Well, it is an invasion themed book. Set in Australia, follows a man called Dusty Falconer. I really enjoyed that. It was a quick read. I think it was only about 200 and something odd pages. As I said, Australian author Stuart Buchanan. He's showed me a lot of support over on TikTok. If you don't already follow me there, head over and follow me there. It's just Righto Alex. I post there a lot more frequently. Yeah, he showed me a lot of support over there. And yeah, it was a good book. I really enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to the second one. Read that on the cruise. Also on the cruise, I brought with me, which like in hindsight was a little bit optimistic. I brought with me Wuthering Heights. I read this far through it, not sure how far, what's that, about 25, 30 pages through that. And I think with just everything going on the cruise, there was so much going on. It was also extraordinarily rocky. We went to New Zealand, we passed over, what is that, the Tasman Sea, and it was like 20 to 25 foot swell, so it was extreme. And just with all the entertainment and all the people and everything going on, I just couldn't wrap my head around Wuthering Heights. So I read a little bit of that, set that aside, and I actually feel like I read something else. Oh, yeah, and so because I couldn't get into Wuthering Heights, I kind of just set that aside, and I think I just read the second Harry Potter, like some of the second Harry Potter. I didn't actually finish it, but just to like keep me reading, you know. Then as soon as we got off the ship, I downloaded the audio book for Lightbringer. I have Lightbringer on my Kindle, and I did my second immersive of the year. So Lightbringer, the 6th book in the Red Rising saga. I think everyone on BookTok, BookTube, everywhere has heard about the Red Rising saga. It was fantastic. I loved Lightbringer. What a great 6th book. The 6th and if not the best book in the entire 6 so far. Really looking forward to Red God. If you've read Red Rising, you know how good it is. It was amazing. And I loved doing the immersive for it as well. Sometimes I didn't really gel with the narrator, but you know, what can you do? It was still brilliant. I also read for my book club for the month, Homegoing by Yard Jarsi, I think it's pronounced. That was the historical fiction of the year so far. I usually read a couple across the year, but that was the first one for the year. That was a really intense read. It's a really good, well-written book. It follows a family that gets split up very, very early on, back a long time ago. I can't remember the exact dates, in Africa, and they get split up, and then it follows the descendants all the way through to sort of modern times. And it felt kind of like a really important book. I felt a bit uncomfortable reading it because there was just some atrocities, some terrible, you guys probably know, atrocities, atrocious, terrible things that went on with slavery, with all that kind of stuff. What you doing? Where you going? I don't know nearly enough about the topic to really speak on it, but Homegoing sort of gave you a little glimpse into that, and it was a confronting read, and it was a very good read, and I'm glad to have read it. After Lightbringer, I got sent a book by David Galassi, 1041. Now this is the first horror book that I've read in a long time. I don't even know if I've really read a horror book. I guess the closest you could come to reading a horror book was last year. I read Misery and The Shining. I don't know if you count them as horror books, but I think this is sort of a horror book. It's a pretty like gory, graphic book. There are some trigger warnings in the front page. There is a content and trigger warning in the front page. One of the funniest things I thought was on the back of this book. It actually says, it's got a few different reviews, and then it's got here a 1-star review. I would never read this shit. From David's mum. I thought that was hilarious. I sat down and I read this in a day. It's only just over 100 pages. I read it in a couple hours. It was really good. It was kind of messed up, but I thought it was a great story. I thought it was a really great story. So yeah, definitely check that out if you want. What now? So now we are on to the 8th book of the year, and actually my favourite, which is saying something because Project Hail Mary was a 5-star and that was brilliant. But this book has scratched an itch for me that I had been in the back of my mind ever since I read A Song of Ice and Fire, which is up, I don't know if you can see it, I've got it up on the bookshelf. Ever since I read A Song of Ice and Fire, I've been like craving sort of like a classic like sword and shield, just that sort of classical fantasy. So I put a short form video out asking my followers, what should my next series be? And I gave them a few options. The Bloodsworn Saga was one of them. I think the Farseer trilogy was one of them. I've read the first book for the Farseer trilogy, but anyway, carrying on. I feel like there was something else, and there was also The Faithful and the Fallen. And The Faithful and the Fallen got a resounding, pretty much like 99% of my comments were all to read The Faithful and the Fallen. So, kind of blind, I didn't even have this series on my list for the year. I just thought I'll just chuck it in there to get another option for you guys to choose. So kind of blind, I just went straight into it. I bought Malice. Actually bought all 4 of them. I bought Malice, started reading it, and ooh. They say that Malice is the weakest of the bunch, and it's rated the lowest on Goodreads out of the 4 of them. And I gave it a 5-star. I thought it was brilliant. It's been a long time since I've read a book that's multi-POV and just loved every single character. Every single character. I loved it. The writing is so good. It's right up my allergy. It's right up my allergy. It's right up my alley. I don't know. I could just read and flow, and just like I didn't find myself pausing and stopping and rereading things. The characters are brilliant. They're so good. And the writing is so good that you just love certain characters, and then you just hate characters. And I love that I hate them because it's written so well. So if you've read Malice, this might be a tiny spoiler. I don't know. I said this in a short form the other day. It might be a tiny spoiler, but it's not really. There are a couple of characters in there that I just hate. And it's a strong word. Hate is a strong word. And I'm kind of joking because it's just a fictional book, but you really do hate these characters. So, number 1, Rafe. Oh, man. Just leave Corbin alone, dude. Just leave Corbin alone. Leave Farrell alone. I really hope he gets what's coming to him in the other books. His father, Helfac, he got what was coming to him. Little spoiler. Evnus, just a piece of work. When he said he's going to go out there and hunt Storm, oh, man, I just wanted to... Just crack him. Just crack him. So yeah, Evnus. Who else do I not really like? No one else really. They're the main 3, I guess, that you just like shaped into hating by reading this book. And it's written so well that you just do. Every other character is brilliant. So I'm actually currently reading Valor, the 2nd book in The Faithful and the Fallen, and I'm loving it just as much. I'm probably about 150 odd pages through it. And yeah, so that's what I've been reading this year. That's what I am currently reading, Valor. And I mean, if I rated Malice 5 stars, I'm expecting to probably rate the other 3 5 stars as well, because they're rated actually quite highly on Goodreads. And I've watched a few other videos across YouTube, and they all sort of have Ruin and Valor are sort of like in their top fantasy books of all time. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm going to be uploading a little bit more frequently on here, so subscribe if you haven't. If you're into BookTube, BookTok, anything like that, stick around because I'm going to be doing more videos on books. I'm also planning to do a few lifestyle style videos. We're coming up to winter here in Australia, and we're going to be ripping out our garden beds for the spring-summer season and planting a whole bunch of new stuff, so I might have a video on that. And yeah, thank you for watching. Comment if you've read any of the books that I've read this year, if you like them, if you didn't like them. And comment if there are any other series that are sort of like a must read for me. The top of my TBR at the moment is I'm sort of fighting between, after I've finished The Faithful and the Fallen, of course, I'm sort of fighting between carrying on with Rob and Hob and going into the Farseer trilogy, or just picking up the Sun Eater series, because I'm just hearing incredible things about the Sun Eater series. So comment your recommendations, and yeah, I'll see you all shortly. Righto.